Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between and around. Welcome to Rolls into Reality, an Alum and Friends D&D podcast. Now, today we'll be doing a 0.5 session, or what we like to call a 0.5 session, where we introduce one of the characters to you all as the audience, and also to the world that we'll be creating in this campaign. So today I am joined by one of my friends, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves and their character.
Hello. My name is Gray, and I will be playing as Vask Thornmoon in this D&D session. Vask is a 5'10" wood elf with copper-color skin and short brown hair, who has grown up within a hermitage community. Kind-hearted assistance has always been appreciated within the community itself. Deep within the forest, he's discovered the forgotten lineage of paladins who swore to protect the light of others. Vask has chosen to bring back the lineage, swearing an oath to protect the good and thwart the evil.
All right. We've talked about this a little bit off recording, but the general idea is you are currently residing in your little hermitage, where of all sorts of people who are generally kind of trying to attune themselves with nature, and this is not long after, probably within a week or two of you kind of taking your oath that you've taken. So this is pretty recently afterwards. There's nothing super special happening off rip, but it's kind of an average day. So let's kind of address how would you start one of your average days?
As a sort of, or just like an average day in the...
Yeah, just an average day in the hermitage.
So most of Vast's task in the Hermitage is just trying to help keep the Hermitage community thriving and surviving with, like, obviously the basic necessary resources like food, any materials you need to repair the Hermitage, because obviously within the vast nature of deep within the forest, obviously maintaining building structure or maintaining buildings that have been built within the land itself is a vital essence in trying to survive.
All right. We'll say that you're kind of going through this routine. Your morning routine probably consists of a lot of the getting the food throughout the day, because it's just the first thing. Y'all got to eat, right? So you're collecting berries, and just out of curiosity, because it changes from area to area, and I'm kind of curious. Would either your hermitage or you individually be vegetarians, or are you omnivorous and still eating like animals and whatnot?
It's a bit of a mixture. Obviously, there'll be some that will be needing a pretty much a herbivore-based diet, but obviously some people still require like mandatory meat-eating diets as well.
Yeah. So what about you as an individual?
It's a bit of a omnivore. Will eat a mixture of both, like sort of like a perfect balance between the two. So not too much meat, not too much plant-based foods as well.
Okay. Yeah. So in that case, we'll say that, your morning kind of starts off with you collecting, like berries and whatnot, and checking like traps for like rabbits and whatnot, other small rodents and other animals around the forest. It's not often that you guys go and hunt full-size creatures like deers and whatnot, as you are, although, there is a decent amount of you here, you're still a relatively small group of individuals in this little hermitage, and most of them do not eat any like form of meat. So you don't have to catch a lot of meat. And so having like a full deer or whatever will be a little bit much. So you mostly go for small game. Midday is when you would normally be probably collecting like other resources, either, wood or whatever. However, on this particular day, you have somebody familiar run up to you. And I'm just curious, outside of the one character we'll introduce in a moment, do you have any names for like any friends or descriptions of like any friends?
Not really, no, because most of the hermitage they usually keep to themselves. So the only person that Vask is in communication with, as you're about to introduce, is our dear friend.
Partway through, you kind of come back with like a lot of the morning food resource gathering, and just before you begin getting all of the wood and whatnot, or any other sort of resource throughout the day to kind of help the thing, Olgrak, a dragonborn, and you know of him fairly well, but you may not be close, but the community still helps each other, so you have a decent knowledge of anybody who exists within it, and you'll know that Olgrak kind of helps a lot more with the interpersonal stuff, so he's usually like kind of of the messenger boy of the hermitage. And so by seeing him approach you, you are pretty well in the know that he comes bearing news or some form of message for you. And he'll kind of run up to you, maybe a little out of breath, but he'll go, "Ah, Vask, good. Glad I caught you. Iori is looking for you. She says it's some matter of urgence. She's residing in her hut, very patiently waiting for you, but she said finish up your tasks, but I recommend not being too long for that. Anyways, I've got to go, and he'll run off, seemingly with, more messages to kind of carry
Yeah.
around to other people.
So my character would obviously, the messages already just gone, they fled, so don't even have a chance to speak to them or
Yep.
say any time to that before they're already just gone doing their.
No, I say everybody's pretty secluded, keeps themselves. So if they don't need to be chatting with each other, they generally won't. And there's always work
Trying
to be
get
done
it
around the
done
hermitage.
before.
So
I will finish, was obviously it would just be finishing my task as requested and then go to Era just for what is it, their news or tidings that they may bring.
all right, and so it takes you probably about 15 or 20 minutes to finish up. You were kind of just starting on it, so it was kind of easy to do like a small bit of it and then kind of finish up very quickly. You weren't like heavily deep in the middle of it, so it was pretty just easy to put aside. And you walk up, and it's pretty you know very well at this point, having been here probably for years, I'd say.
But since then, it would definitely be years and years.
That's what I assumed, yeah. So years and years, you know very well which one is Yori's hut, and it is the larger of the huts, and it is, although to the average person's eyes it wouldn't seem like much, you would know that it's decorated a lot more with like mosses and other kind of nature things, and it makes it blend in a little bit more to the environment, whereas other people's may be a little easier to discern from a distance and tell that that's a hut rather than hers, which would be pretty difficult from too far out to tell that it isn't just part of nature.
Oh yeah.
And so walking into the hut, which I presume you do, you would be hit with, the inside of her hut is generally a lot hotter, as she often has things like incenses or other things burning, as, in addition to being the general leader of this hermitage, she's also, their spiritual leader. And as such, she has incenses burning, she has, other, kind of standard ritual practices that she might be doing. And so, there's definitely an air, like a difference in the air as you walk into this large hut, and very quickly she'll kind of go from her meditative position in the center of the room, where she kind of has her eyes closed, so she'll hear the door open. She'll kind of open her eyes and goes, "Ah, Vask, please come in. I have urgent news for you."
Vask would just easily walk in and then he will find just the nearest chair to sit down just to discuss with Ara, who's obviously a halfling, just to sit down, just to be sort of her eye level.
Yeah, and as you wouldn't end up quite being her eye level, because in this hut there's not really chairs necessarily. It's kind of just, there's like moss patches on the ground that are maybe a little softer than other spots. But there's like a lot of natural furnishing. So you'll basically just sit on a cozier patch of moss or whatever kind of in front of her, which is a practice that you'd be well used to by this point. And she'll look at you and go, yes, there's great things about. I know that it's not been long since you've taken your oath, and I'm sorry to have to put you on the spot so much, but do you think you are ready to go on a bit of a mission?
He would question within his head what sort of mission that she is asking him to do, and then proceeds to ask her directly, "What mission do you intend that I should take?"
There is a small town a decent ways from here, but they're requesting people to fight, to help. There is some beast that is threatening their town, and that seems the warriors of their town are not enough. They've reached out to a great many places, and although we are far away, we are quicker to get there than some of the closer places. They need help defeating this creature. It seems that's plaguing their town. It's killed a good portion of their people already. It's destroying their crops. Any defenses that they had have long since gone. They fear their entire village to be wiped out not long if they don't receive help soon.
And I know you know that I will go straight to help as soon as possible, but do you think I am ready for this?
I fear that there may not be another choice. Nobody else in this great little area of ours is at all suited for any sort of form of a violent encounter. I'm sorry to call on you so soon after you've taken this oath. I know you still are not long into your training, but if we do not send them help, we don't know who else they may get, and their entire village and people may be wiped out, families gone, and life is precious. To see such a large amount of it thrown away is too great of a tragedy to not send you.
I see. Then I shall go forth and hope to the best of my ability, though I may not guarantee my return.
I hope in my dearest of hearts that you do return, as it would be a great loss to the Hermitage and to the world to see you go too soon. May Ida protect you along your journey. I'll have you meet with, and you've not talked to her before, she's very reclusive, but she has a very important task and helps out the enclave here. But I'll have you meet with Hannah on the outskirts of the village, near the large oak tree, the one that connects us just outside of our little hermitage, just into the larger parts of the forest.
Ah, yeah, I remember the old oak tree. I shall meet there at once.
May I guide you along your way? And with that, she kind of gestures you out of the tent.
Yeah.
Now you felt like you roll me a history check
check.
real quick, actually.
What's my history at? Oh, it's just a natural roll. Right. It is a 5.
All right. So you definitely feel like you knew a lot of, I mean, like, you understand that there are maybe some people you've talked to less in this, in this hermitage or whatever, but you felt like you had a general idea of everybody. At least you had heard like most their names at one point, either in passing or other forms of conversation. But Hannah is not somebody you have any idea of who they are or like what they're about or anything like that. They are just completely unheard of to you. And this, I mean, given the fact that you thought you knew a lot of people, this would come as a bit of a shock to try to meet with somebody, because I mean, this is basically the first time in years that you've had to meet a new person. You pretty much got to know everybody. Maybe every once in a while there'd be a new person, but this isn't a huge hermitage, and you don't get many people. Like, it's every couple of years that you get a new person. So to have a new name be introduced, especially one that's not like, you already said that she had been, helping out the village or the hermitage for a while. So like, this isn't like a new person or whatever. So to not know them would be quite a bit of a surprise to you.
But I was based the assumption that it could be just someone that's recluse to their own settlement as well, that they prefer.
Yeah, and they would have had to have been for you to not, but even for you to not have not heard their name at this point would still be somewhat of a shock and a surprise. But your way to the outskirts of the village. This is where you don't go out here very often, but this is where you might go to get some more resources that are, not necessarily in the closest surrounding area. And this would be somewhere you go to get like maybe a specific type of wood or moss or like a very particular mushroom that may not grow too close. You may have to go to like a specific cave to get something, but you wouldn't very often, like maybe every couple of months would you even come out this far. So it is a decent bit of a walk to get there, but when you do, you come across this great big oak tree, and it is notably larger than any of the other trees around. You kind of, as you get to this point in the forest, the trees do start getting larger than when they were closer to your enclave, but this one, it goes from like, the other trees go from like trees that you could probably wrap around with just one arm to being like, trees you'd have to probably use 2 arms to wrap around. This tree would take like 4 or 5 people touching fingertips to even come around. So this is a very large tree in relation to everything around you. And roll me an Arcana check. I'm kind of curious to see if you would detect something. Yeah.
What is Arcana? I am rolling poorly. It's a 4.
Yeah. So this, as far as you can tell, this is just a very large tree, and you're kind of sitting there waiting, but not a lot's happening. There's nobody around. Yeah, you don't see this Hannah person that you've been told to meet. So and you've been here for probably about a good 20 minutes at this point. So I'm kind of curious, just as your character having, been sent here and then waiting after being told it was urgent, you should send there very quickly. How would you, or how would Vask react to this? Like, what
To
would
the
you be
answer
doing
this.
right now?
If I'm sorry, I need to get mindset. If Vask spent obviously was it 20 or so minutes trying to find this Hannah person who I never knew existed and apparently still does not exist, I would still try and look around, see if there's like any hidden nooks or crannies around the tree or something like that. Because obviously in some heritage, people have built themselves within the ground level of certain hills and that, like they've decided to build into the ground. So
Yeah.
obviously, if there's like no obvious settlement above ground or around the tree or anything like that, then obviously I'll have to see if there's like any additional passages to like under the tree or somewhere around anything like that.
Roll me an investigation check.
All right. Please don't fail me this time. Oh, investigation's also a base, but I rolled a 17. I
17 is
know.
much better than previous rolls. So looking around, you can tell pretty clearly that this is an area that is, although you're not seeing any, like there's no signs of there being any like settlement or like, hut or house here, either, above ground or below ground, nothing particular. There is signs that, especially on one area kind of in front of the tree, there seems to be a lot more, the ground seems to be worn down a lot more, as if there's been a lot more foot traffic in that part of that area, but you don't see any signs of like somebody existing outside of that yet.
I would step onto this worn out area and just sort of just keep walking forward just slowly just to see if there's like any pretty much in like any hidden passageway or if there's like a sort of a materialized invisible barrier.
And how would you be
It would
doing this? Are you like trying to like, like
sort of
look
sort
around
of
for it? You
feel
trying to feel for
for
around
it.
for it? Like, what are you doing?
It's like, oh yeah, like on the worn out patches, I'll just be slowly stepping to see if there's like anything hidden there. And as I get close to the tree, sort of just feel around, see if there's like anything I can just like anything that my hand can just phase through.
Yeah, and as you're kind of moving around and kind of touch the patch of grass, and nothing really happens. But as you touch kind of the tree in front of where the patch of grass is, you kind of feel kind of a warmth in your hand and like kind of a tingle go up your arm as you kind of hear kind of some like pulsing sound happening. And your hand is still like it's not going through the tree or anything like you were kind of looking for or expecting, but it is. You can tell that something's definitely happening with as you kind of touch it. And not long after you do that, you'll kind of feel some pushback from your hand by what feels to be another hand.
It's like actual like a physical fleshy hand sort of thing.
Yeah, from what you can tell.
I'll get Vast just to push further just to see if it can pushes its force further against this fleshy force that's trying to stop him from going through.
And pretty quickly, you'll upon feeling your hand, kind of pushing back, the other kind of bit of hand texture or whatever that you feeling kind of goes back, and you pretty aggressively slam your hand into the bark in what is a not super fun way, because it's never fun to kind of just full on high five a tree. And you'll hear from kind of inside the tree just says, "Hey, stop pushing! Get the fuck out of the way, you prick!"
I'll take a step back out the way to whatever that
And
voice told.
not much longer after you do, probably about 20 or so seconds, you'll see kind of the hand of a person moving out of the tree, and the rest of their body following pretty shortly after as they kind of phase out from the inside of the tree. And before you stands a relatively short woman. It's hard to tell, or maybe a short human, or maybe a tall halfling. It's a little hard to tell, but they kind of sit there, and you can tell that they're whatever they are, it's not quite either of those, as they have a lot of where normally you would see the kind of like veins running, and it'll be kind of like a light blue or whatever under the skin. It is a very vibrant green that kind of is very close to the surface of their skin, kind of running throughout all their body. And in addition to that, there you see their face, which is a little pissed, and they look a little mad at you. Fucking finally, sitting there, I'm waiting for you, never knock on my door, and then when you do, you're trying to shove me back in? The fuck's wrong with you?
I like to humbly apologize.
Yeah, you better. So you the persons that you already told me about, eh?
That is indeed correct.
Yeah, you don't look like much. You sure you're gonna be able to help these people out?
That even I don't know the answer of, but it's worth a try.
I feel sorry for the poor sons of bitches that got your confidence behind them. Hey, let me ask you a question. You ever been tree hopping before?
I don't think I have, no.
No,
Depends
and
what
you
you're
definitely would not have this. I mean, this entire person and everything about them is very foreign to you. You have never even heard of the phrase tree hopping.
definitely not heard of it. He's trying to be a bit more polite.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me one bit. Look a little green behind the ears, if you know what I mean, and not in the good way. And, you'll see her. She'll kind of go, "All right, well, we have I'm a tree hopper, and that gives me kind of abilities. To hop between, there's a couple of these trees. They got a lot of magic kind of running through them, and it kind of connects them all to different parts of the world. Now we got one nearby us here, and there's one not too far away from the village that you're trying to help out. And I'm the type of person who can guide you through them. But first, I'm gonna need you to do something for me. I need you to, get down on both your knees. There's some setup that we have to do before you can start getting through the tree.
All right, then he would Vask would just go down to his knees using his longsword as just sort of guide to help him get low onto his knees, especially within his chainmail armor.
Yeah. And question: do you wear a helmet, or do you
No,
like a face covering helmet, or?
Vask does not wear a helmet, no.
All right, good. All right, and she'll kind of. You'll see her walk over to, kind of a softer patch of ground in front of the tree, and she'll grab some dirt, and she'll immediately walk over to your face and goes, "Hey, hold still for a moment, eh?" And she'll start just smearing the dirt all along your forehead, and you kind of see her smirking as she does so, as such. This is very, once again, still very foreign to Vask. This is like you've gone through other rituals and whatnot, but most of them don't involve stuff like this. All right. I need you to do me a favor and say a couple things for me, right?
All right.
All right, repeat after me. And then say your name here. And I'm about to go into the tree.
He is still puzzled, wondering if it's actually genuine or if Hannah's just trying to humiliate him in some way. But he's still.
Do you want to roll an insight check, or are you going to go along with it?
I'm gonna roll an insight check to see what's happening. 14 plus 3, 17.
All right, let me just check something behind the scenes.
Poker face.
Yeah, no, you can tell pretty quickly that whatever she's doing right now is almost assuredly you have never had to do anything like this in your entire life, and throughout all your knowledge of magic and spellcasting, this is complete bullshit. She's just you can tell pretty quickly she's fucking with. However, whether or not you want to continue along with it is up to you. But you can tell that this is basically her just fucking with you.
I, Vask, can tell that you're messing with me.
You're no fun. Get up off your knees.
Uses his sword just to get back up and then stand
so you're
up.
kind of kick the dirt in front of her. She's like, "All right, this whole thing's pretty simple, but it's gonna feel pretty weird. Okay, you've never been through it before. Basically, I got something special about me. You can probably see physically on me. I ain't exactly like you. I can go in and out of the trees. I can hop through them pretty easily. You, however, you try to walk into that tree, you're gonna hit a fucking tree. That's what's gonna happen. So you need my help to get there. But it's gonna be something like you've never experienced before, because you're gonna start becoming one with the nature. You're gonna kind of become your physical form's gonna disappear for a little bit. You're kind of just gonna become the energy that you are. And I don't know if you've ever been just energy before, but it's a mite bit different than just being your regular form. Okay?
Well, I could imagine.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised you can do that. It doesn't seem like there's too much brains up in there. She'll kind of knock. She'll gesture towards knocking up on your helmet, but she's way too short to do as such. And she kind of gestures you to fall over the tree and says, "Okay, now the rules of this is you're gonna hold onto my hand before we enter, because we gotta be physically touching, and then you're gonna keep holding on even when we don't have hands anymore. Okay, you gotta think as hard as you can constantly, just to make sure you don't lose contact. Because if you lose contact with me when you're just in your energy form, you ain't never coming back. All right, so you gotta make sure real hard that you don't fuck this up. All right, and if you do, it's not on me. I've already cleared that by Iori."
I was gonna say, even though Vask does not show it, his nerves internally is just gradually building up, wondering what's gonna happen if he goes through the tree.
Oh yeah, and you see her kind of, she kind of takes like a step into the tree, and now she's got both her legs and like basically up to her torso in the tree, and she's holding out her hand for you to kind of follow and join her.
He hesitates for a second before following Anna into the tree.
Yeah, and grabbing your hand, she kind of the second that you grab her hand, you'll see her just flash a devilish smirk as she yanks you into the tree. And the second that you feel your fingertips, cross into the tree, it is like nothing you've ever felt. It's like having every part of your body be exclusively nerve endings. It's painful, but at the same time, it's like way more than you can even process. It's like being connected to everything and nothing. It is the most surreal experience you've ever felt. You don't know where you are. You can't, none of your regular senses work. All you feel is just so much like sensory input. It's exclusively sensory. And in your head, you got to be repeating just one idea, and that is don't let go of her hand.
Yeah.
And when you do that, I'm going to have you roll me a Constitution saving throw. I want to see just how well you do this.
6 + 2.
All right, that's not fantastic.
Of course. I'm done for.
You are, so you're kind of going through this whole form, and you can't tell if it's been seconds or decades, but you're desperately thinking to yourself, hold onto her hand, hold onto her hand, hold onto her, and then at some point you feel a rush of just more sensory input, and it overwhelms you only for a second, but you definitely felt your hand kind of loosen on the grip for a little bit. And what although it's weird because you can't really even feel your hand, you knew that it was gone for a second. What was a firm clasp around the center palm of your hands on each of you is now barely being held on by the ends of the fingertips, as she's basically desperately trying to grab you and hold you along. After what feels like an eternity, you are thrown out of this weird energy experience that you've been in, and you land on the ground hard. And falling out of the tree not long after that is Hannah, and she looks pissed. She goes, "What the hell was that? I gave you one fucking rule. You have one rule. Don't let go of my hand. What you do? Go and let go of it. Fuck's sake, these people are good. These people are way worse off than I thought they were gonna be."
My character would still be dizzy, trying to figure out where he is, and he's struggling to get up even with the use of his longsword just to try and support him up.
Roll me a perception check.
Alright, what's my perception? 10 + 1.
That'll be good enough for you to know that it's not just the fact that you're dizzy or wobbly or not used to something. There is definitely something wrong with you, and it takes you a small moment to figure it out. You can tell that one of your legs is not quite as responsive as it used to be, and kind of as a penalty for kind of letting go in this circumstance, your left leg has a slight limp to it now when you walk, and that'll be a permanent feature in the campaign.
Is this something I can't heal at all, or?
Then maybe. I say it's difficult for you to tell, as this isn't a wound. There's no pain. It's just not responsive. You may be able to heal it, but the nature of what caused it is pretty foreign to you, so you don't know whether or not it's something that can be fixed easily, fixed difficultly, or fixed at all.
Okay, lovely.
Before you is still that one very pissed Hannah.
He would be still trying to figure out where he is and trying to make sure he's standing up straight despite his limp. Would it slow my walking speed or no?
No, but I am going to give you a permanent, or I'm going to give you, for as long as you have this limp at the very least, a -1 to your stealth.
Oh god.
Because it is a lot harder to stealth around when one of your legs is less responsive.
Yeah. All right. I was gonna say my stealth isn't even at a disadvantage anyway with the chainmail, so.
Yeah. Yes, you probably weren't going to be stealthing anyways. This just kind of puts a little bit more of a guarantee on it. But yeah, so kind of getting in your feet. She sees that you're a little worse for wear and a little fucked up, and she goes, "It serves you right. I gave you one rule and you couldn't follow it. That's not on me. I told Diori I'd get you here, and that's what I did. From here on, you're on your own. You know how to find me." And you see her, immediately kind of walk back into the tree. Around you, kind of being left alone, is the tree itself looks very similar to the one that you had entered from. It is a very large oak tree, and there is one spot on it that is very worn down. But the rest of the area you're in is very different. The grass is a little drier. There's less moss. The other trees are of a different species. You are in a very very different area and a slightly later time in the day. You don't quite know, you can't tell if it's the same day or not, but you know, whereas you kind of entered the tree somewhere around what was somewhere close to probably about 1 in the afternoon, it seems to be closing on like 5 or 6 in the evening. Like it's definitely getting later in the day, but is that the same day or a different day? You can't tell quite yet.
I would question if it would have been easier just to walk there than just take the portal.
Well, and that is a bit of a question, is where is there right now anyways?
My character would not know exactly where it is because obviously he hasn't left the hermitage or nearby the kingdom that's nearby the forest. That's like the only two areas that he knows off by heart, so anything beyond is just foreign to him.
So you're currently kind of in a forest near this tree. You know that you're supposed to be going towards a village or a town of some sort. How are you planning on trying to get there?
So I can't see the village at all, anything like that.
Not in direct line of sight. But around you, it kind of just seems like, you know, you're in a forest currently. It's hard to tell how deep into it you are. You know, you can't see the village around you.
Do I hear any fighting? Because obviously there's a big fight that's happening at the village. If I hear like, any sounds that I can just listen to and just follow the direction of, is there any thing like
A perception or roll me an investigation check, actually.
investigation? Oh, it's a natural roll. You gotta do me dirty like that. Could have had my +1, but no. I am so close to throwing this dice across the room. I rolled 2.
You're not going to be able to find them that way. There doesn't sound to be any fighting nearby, which means one of two things, you know, that either means that there is currently not an active fight going on or you're nowhere near the village. So now you're left with trying to find the village through an alternative means. How are you going about that?
I'm gonna say, is there a path nearby I could just go to and follow?
Roll me an investigation check.
Oh boy. I rolled a 19 on that investigation.
A 19 will do you much better. Although there is no direct path, you can tell that there is definitely some areas that have more foot travel through them than others. And like I said, although it's not an actual set path, there does seem to be a path leading away from this tree.
Since that is the only leeway that I can work with from just being thrown into a foreign land, I follow the trail to as far as it can go.
And as far as it'll go, will not be actually too far away. You're probably only walking for about 15-20 minutes or so. You've probably walked, you know, I mean, not that far. You haven't crossed that many trees. You know, you're in chainmail armor. It's not like you're exactly walking super fast, but you know, you're not, it's not like you're sprinting. It's not like you're taking dash actions, but still it only takes you about 20 or so minutes to find yourself at the edge of, although it doesn't really seem too much like a village, there is definitely an encampment here. And there is a lot of tents, kind of a campfire roaring, and you can definitely see some people in armor kind of sitting or moving about throughout this little encampment.
Can I check to see if they are friendly or not by just keeping distance, but I still want to see if they are friendly or if they are the perpetrators attacking the village?
And how are you planning on determining whether they're friendly or not?
Just based on what sort of armor they're wearing, based on like just any like details, clan or kingdom emblems, anything like that.
Nope, you're not really seeing any of that. It seems to be that they're kind of sitting about. You can see some of them joking with each other, whatnot. Various levels of armor. Some people, you know, only wear like leather armor. Some people like in fully clad, like, you know, metal armor. But you're not seeing any like specific insignias. No banners, no flags. Just a bunch of people kind of sitting around in tents or moving. You see some people kind of, you know, there are some carts with some weapons in them. You see kind of some people moving about with, but outside of that, there's not really any clear way to discern from that.
Right. Problem is, I don't know if. Okay, Vask would be confident to go into the encampment, especially by himself. He will look around to see if he can see the villages.
All right, so you're gonna kind of try to walk past the encampment.
Yeah, so I'll just walk around it and just see if I can go beyond to try and find that village.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely like avoid the encampment. It's not like they're taking up a huge amount of space. But continue kind of staying along the tree line. You are able to walk for a decent bit longer, but it will be a bit. There's actually a longer walk in between the camp and where you're about to be than there was between the tree and the camp, and it has you walking for 40 to 50 minutes. Just shy of an hour probably, and you do happen upon a village. Or at least what remains of it. You see a lot of shattered wood around. Some of it seems to be, from like an attempt at a barricade. Most of it seems to be from like houses and whatnot. There are a lot of bodies around. As far as you can tell, none of them alive. Everything that was basically in this village seems to be just completely destroyed and brought to the ground. There does not seem to be anything left in it as it currently stands, and there's not much past that either, as this village, it had been built pretty close to a cliffside, and there is a very steep drop off after the end of that, which roll me a perception check.
I was gonna ask if I don't see like any survivors of that bad.
Or actually, what's your passive perception?
My passive is 11.
Okay, your passive perception will have you notice a low rumbling from what appears to be somewhere past and down the cliff.
I would carefully peek over the cliff to see what that noise is.
Roll me a stealth check.
Oh, you really gotta make me do it, because I gotta do it at a disadvantage.
Oh, I am. As it just the -1 on it. And then the disadvantage from the chainmail.
That one got caught. 12 plus the 1 now. So my first roll's 13. Second roll was 18, so 13.
All right, 13 will be enough. As you kind of get to the edge of this cliff and you peer over, you see kind of residing close to the bottom of it, what you thought was kind of a low rumbling, is actually, you can see this giant hulking creature. What it is, it's a little hard to tell, but it's this black mass of kind of swirling, it seems to be maybe some tentacles or some tendrils, or maybe that's just parts of it kind of swirling in and out of itself. It's a little hard to tell, but it's pacing a little bit and kind of like walking around a little bit of a circle at the bottom of the cliff. And the low rumbling you hear is every step it's taking. And see, each one of its 4 legs as they take the step and do a stomp, you definitely hear that kind of rumble. And you can even, as you're closer to the cliff now, you can even kind of feel it rumbling up the cliffside, of which this is a very long cliff down. It's probably about 250 feet down, and the rumbling is carrying all the way up.
Is there anything else at all that's down below, or is it just the creature?
From this distance, it would be very difficult to tell. The creature is easy to see because of its sheer size, but were there to be like a person down there, you wouldn't be able to tell. Were there to be like you would need something probably at least the size of a small like shack or tent or something like that to even be able to see it, let alone determine what it is.
I will probably just step away from the cliff, and then I would go start investigating the town to see if there are any survivors.
All right, roll me an investigation check.
Ooh, more investigation. Ooh, it's a base roll of 10.
10's all right, yeah. 10 will have you know that from what you can tell, everybody here who is dead is thoroughly dead.
And that's just everyone outside, correct?
I mean, there's not really any insides. Everything is smashed and opened to pieces. The only insides is some of the people's insides.
Lovely jubbly. Would there be any survivors within the rubble at all? Or?
Roll me an athletics check to see if you can even lift some of the rubble.
Athletics, what's that? It's a +1. That +1's not gonna matter because I rolled a natural 1.
Yeah, no, you can't even lift the rubble, let alone check underneath it.
Damn it, I thought I was working out a lot. Any small parts, or like something that's like not fully collapsed in?
Looking around, there is, no, everything is collapsed in. If you're lifting anything, it's gonna be like, small bits of like a fence or whatever, but there is, like I said, there's just nothing left at this point. It is all broken. It is all, and everyone you have found is dead.
So with this, I will take the assumption that everyone is gone, and then I will make my way back towards the tree jumping tree.
So it is currently, you had arrived outside of the tree around what was maybe about 5 in the afternoon. Between you going all the way back and forth, are kind of coming along the camp. It is now probably getting closer to, somewhere between like 6:30 and 7. Do you have dark vision? Just curious.
I do not know.
Okay, so in that case, in order to see at this point, you will have to have some form of light. So do you have some form of light on you, like either a torch or something else of the like?
Based on my hermitage background, I have a oil lamp which can light within a 15-foot radius and dim light around for additional 30 feet.
All right, cool. So you'll have to light that before you start making your way back from the kind of destroyed village.
All right, so I would get back to the tree.
And so, as you kind of start walking back, it starts getting, darker and darker into the night. And eventually you kind of come across where the village was. Or not where the village, where the encampment was. And upon, you kind of walking past with your light, you actually will be noticed by one of the villagers or one of the encampment people. And they'll kind of call out to you and be like, hey, are you here to help?
I believe so. What is it? Is it for the village itself?
Oh, dear God, yes. I see we've been ravaged through and through. We've been requesting help from as many people as we can. Can you tell me where you're from?
I've been requested from a halfling friend of mine to assist the village in slaying a beast.
And without that, we need indeed. Here, come this way. Come into our little encampment. We had to move away from the village, as there's not much of it left anymore, I'm afraid. The survivors are making do here. Come. And I'll kind of start guiding you closer towards the village. And you'll tell, and upon getting, more into the center of the village, you'll notice that, a lot of the people who are walking about are, although they may not be soldiers, they're at the very least, people who are ready to fight. However, what you couldn't see from too far outside the village is there's also what remains of a couple of the families and whatnot, kind of hiding in the tents, kind of just gathered around trying to stay, mostly out of line of sight and whatnot. There's certainly not a full village population here, that much you could tell and already knew. You can also kind of tell, being this closer up, that not the people who appear, actually, roll me a perception check.
Right. 18 plus 1, so 19.
Yeah, that'll definitely be good enough. You can tell that some of the people here are from the village. You can tell that some of the people here are not. The people who are from the village are pretty clear. They haven't had any time to clean or wash up. You can tell their armor's already dented. They're already kind of bruised all over. They're kind of covered in dirt and or blood in some spots. These people are worse for it. You can tell that there are a couple soldiers or other, people ready for the fight who are not quite badly dented up. And you can assume that these are people probably from other places, not unlike your own, who are coming here because help was requested.
So from that, Vask would assume that he will not be alone in fighting this giant creature that he observed earlier.
Certainly not. And yet you could take a pretty good guess that if you had been alone, you would not have made it. And this soldier who kind of guided you into the village will go, here, right this way. We don't have much of a leader anymore, or much of any system of who's in charge or not. But I'll take you to the man who's been calling the shots at least. He'll guide you, and he's the one who's reached out to other soldiers like yourself to try to help us in any way they can. Here, and they kind of guide you into a tent. This one seems to be a little bit larger than some of the others. And as you walk in, you can tell that there's a table with what seems to be to call it a map might be a little generous. It's a large piece of paper that's kind of crudely drawn on it, and you can kind of tell just from looking at there's the encampment that you guys have. You can tell that there's it's a little difficult to tell what it would be, but you can assume that it's probably the village, and then past that you can see kind of the cliff face and what they've basically just drawn as a black circle on the edge of the cliff face. And you can see that there is a man clad well in armor, and his armor is beaten up. He seems to be of human nature or whatever, and he's sitting there, all those armors beaten up and dented. He still is holding himself very well. He is a well-built man, and upon seeing you, he'll kind of look up and go, a new arrival. I'm glad to see it. Tell me, what's your name? Where are you from?
I am from the Wildlands Refuge, being summoned on behalf of Iroh. You can just call me Vask.
Vask, glad to have you here. Lord knows we could need the help. I'll be honest. Our chances here are not great. That beast has already taken out most of my village, and although we've received some word from people and we're happy for the help, we are still very short on manpower. But goodness, forgive me. I've all caught up in this. Introductions, at the very least. My name's Marcel, though as long as we're in this fight, you can just call me Captain. Makes it easier. The beast seems to be some form of intelligent. It'll at least target me first before you. I'll have a better chance of surviving.
Can I just sort of investigate, see if I can tell his intentions just based on his current?
Roll an insight check.
Oh, it's a good insight check. 18 plus 3, that's a 21.
You can tell that this man is tired. He is worn. He has, I mean, you can even just looking at his armor and you can tell by his face. This man is very much here to fight the good fight, and he has been fighting the good fight. It seems like he's been, however many encounters or, battles they've had with the creature, whether it was just the one where the creature kind of came in or if they've tried multiple times. You don't know yet, but you can definitely tell that he's at least been in those fights when they've been happening. He is speaking tiredly. He has a heavy heart. His people, his friends, his family have been killed in this encounter, and he wants it dead so everybody can be safe. You can tell that pretty clearly. He makes no intention to hide any emotions or anything like that. He is here to try to just get the job done so he can go back to life or whatever remains of it.
After that brief insight that he saw just from his behavior, he grabs the captain's hand and he shakes it firmly. And he replies saying, I do hope that we have more men and soldiers or anyone that can help in our way, because our current numbers just give us a slim chance of success.
Indeed they do. Fortunately, I've sent word to a great many villages. Yours was due to your unique transportation methods. You got here faster than many others will, though we are hoping that, and from what we've heard on words, we're hoping that more will come soon. It's late in the day. You should get some rest. I don't want to bog you down with all the details of combat for now. They'll guide you. I'll have Hank here guide you into a tent. It'll be for new recruits. In a desperate semblance of orders, we're calling each of the soldiers' tents squadrons. You will be part of Squadron 6, and the next 4 or 5 recruits that come through will be part of your squadron. We don't intend to fight this creature until we have at least 10 squadrons, but to at least be prepared, we need to make sure that we fill out the ones we have in case it brings the fight to us.
I see.
And the man who had originally kind of guided you into the tent kind of stands at the ready to kind of guide you out when you're ready for it.
Voss sort of just straightens his posture a bit to be more sort of just authoritative in a sense, since he is in the presence of, obviously, was it the sort of makeshift military captain.
Yeah.
So he sees him as his commanding officer, but obviously due to previous history, he doesn't want to obviously rain any offense to any kingdom, whether it's his own kingdom, or any of the other external kingdoms. He doesn't want to rain any offense, and he sees the pure light within him, and due to his oath that he has taken, he shows the captain proper respect in what he's doing and his end goal.
All right. Yeah, as you kind of, stand up straight and whatnot, Hank will guide you out, and you can see that they have, they mentioned wanting 10 squadrons. You can tell that there are, basically 2 different styles of tents, or technically 3 if you include the captain's tent, though excluding that one, there's basically, tents that are kind of larger and, they're set up quickly, but they're set up with size in mind, and you can tell that there's and there seem to be about 12 or so of those tents, and you can tell that there's 3 or 4 smaller tents. They're set up, a little bit more sturdy, but they're definitely a lot smaller, and those seem to be kind of the tents that the families are set up in. Not as much space, but they seem to be a little sturdier. And you are put in the tent. It has a very crudely kind of just painted on the side, and just a big black paint, just the number 6 on it. As Hank will guide you into that tent, and the furnishings are slim. It's basically of 4 or 5 very poorly set up bedrolls in there, and 2 benches. It's definitely very crowded.
Yeah.
But considering, everything that's happened to these people, it's definitely the best that they can make with. They'll kind of guide you into that, and this is where you'll be as we kind of close out our session. Now I'll allow, before that happens, to you kind of decide if there's any particular things you want to do as you kind of settle into this tent. Otherwise, you've now joined a cause and are kind of waiting for the rest of the story to happen around you.
I know. Interesting start. No, I'm then Danny, so I'll just be entering the tent, obviously just using, what was it, the backpack as like sort of my pillow, as I was used the blanket that's packed in just as like the way to keep warm in the, was it, the cold, desolate night.
All right. Well, with that good end, thank you all for joining us. This is the end of this first 0.5. There will be a couple more, depending on at least 2 more, potentially 3, depending on how the characters want to involve themselves. These videos will be posted weekly for all you Patreon members. You can check out some of my other content on YouTube or Twitch at, using Alrim as the tag. And that is all. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.